Sina sista år bodde David Ben Gurion i sitt hem i Besöker tillsammans med sin fru Paula. Där han i slutet av 60-talet i samband med sexdagarskriget bland annat fick besök av sin gamla politiska rival Menachem Begin. Efter att hans fru Paula dött drog sig David Ben Gurion tillbaka från politiken år 1970 och tillbringade sin sista tid med att skriva böcker om Israels tidiga historia. I november 1973 fick han en hjärnblödning och fick under sin sjukdomstid besök av flera höga politiker, som premiärminister Golda Meir. Han dog slutligen den 1 december 1973 vid en ålder av 87 år strax efter Yom Kippur-kriget samma år. Hans kropp lades först i Knesset så att människor fick hedra honom innan han flög sig i helikopter till Besöker. Sirener hördes över hela Israel för att markera hans död innan han begravdes bredvid sin fru Paula i Midreshet Ben Gurion, strax intill Besöker. Här ligger David, Paula Ben Gurion. Strax utanför Besöker där de bodde de sista åren av sina liv. De är döda, lever inte längre, men visionen som Ben Gurion levde för lever i allra högsta grad. Nu är det upp till dig och mig att ta vårt ansvar.
Nu lägger jag en sten på Ben Gurions grav, som man gör inom det judiska. Och en sten på Paula Ben Gurions grav.
Mitzpe Ramon är ett samhälle mitt i Negevöknen med 5000 invånare. Orten bildades år 1951 som ett läger för de vägarbetare som byggde motorväg 40 mellan Beersheba och Eilat. Mitzpe Ramon har ett ökenklimat med en temperatur som varierar mellan 30 och 40 grader varje dag. Samhället ligger 840 meter över havet och ligger precis norr om Ramon-kratern. En 38 kilometer lång, 6 kilometer bred och 500 meter djup krater. Området är idag Israels största nationalpark och här finns också ett besökscenter där man kan njuta av utsikten över den stora kratern.
Well, that's the Erosion Crater, the famous place where about 500,000 visitors come every year. And the site itself occupies all kinds of tourism, you know, from jeep safaris to hiking, camel safaris. People love the desert as is, clean and Genesis.
How do people live here when they come to Mitzpe Ramon?
Well, the town itself is a small town. It has some 5,000 people altogether. But we have around 500 rooms of all kinds of hotels, youth hostels, dormitories, and some 2,500 beds, which are in camping sites or dormitories all around. So there are a lot of options for the tourists who are coming to Mitzpe Ramon. Think of a ski center. This is what we have, only we don't have the snow, we have the crater instead of snow.
this is a place where people come to look at heaven and count the star as Abraham. Why is that?
Well, Mitzpe Ramon has a unique phenomenon. This area, due to its altitude, due to its cleanliness, meaning it is very, very clean, we have very few nights where we have clouds at all. There's very low humidity. And due to the fact that we're isolated, totally isolated from all other inhabitants, we have very, very small light. Meaning altogether, we are one of the most perfect places around the world to actually gaze the stars, since we are dark and resolution of the air from us to the, to the skies is very, very clear. So our clear sky makes Mitzpe Ramon a perfect place for stargazing.
Last question. How come this area looks like it do today?
This is what we call an erosion crater. The erosion is a very simple phenomenon in geology. The place was formed some hundreds of million years ago, but due to erosion, therefore the dust and the wind and the chillness and the water all together are melting the area slowly, and they take all the soil and the sand from here to the Arava Valley behind us. So what we have is a huge mountain that was like carved from the inside, today becoming a huge hole, some 42 kilometers long, some 10 kilometers wide. This is one of the largest windows to the earth.
Sedan oktober 2013 heter Mitzpe Ramons borgmästare Roni Marum. Han är själv född i Israel medan hans föräldrar flyttade till landet från 2 arabländer.
I love Mitzpe Ramon. I love the desert. I like the silence. The life here is very quiet, and you have a lot of time to spend with your family, not running after, how do you call it, when you stand in your car after thousands of cars before a few. It's a beautiful sight, and the weather is brilliant. We have a very small and unique community. We have people from North Africa. They came here in the 60s. After that, we have the people that came from Russia in the 19s. We have Orthodox community, and we have a community of people that serve in the army base in this area. And also we have a community that came to Mitzpe Ramon in the 10 or maybe 15 last year. They came only because of the quality of life, the special life that you can live in Mitzpe Ramon.
Well, what do you think about Ben Gurion's vision? He lived in Tel Aviv and 553 here himself, moved to Besöker.
Yes. I think Ben Gurion for me is a kind of modern prophet. He had a big vision, and he came here because his vision. He wanted, I think so. He wanted to do his vision by himself, and to live in the desert, in the Negev, and to be agriculture, to build, to do, to educate. In the Negev, for him, it was a dream to become true, and he wanted to do it by himself, not only to speak about it, to do it. And it's a great thing to do. I born in Israel. My parents came from North Africa. My mother from Tunisia. My father from Morocco.
In the 50s?
They came in the 50s. They came very young people to Israel by themselves without their family. My father was in a kibbutz, Kfar Blum, in the north. My mother came to Eilat. She was like the flower children, and they met in Eilat. I born in Eilat before 51 years, and that's all. I born I'm Tzaba. They came only because they were Zionists. They dreamed to come to Israel and to live in Israel because they were Zionists. They feel very comfortable and well in Morocco and Tunisia. They have a lot of Muslim friends. Economical, they were in a very good position, but they had a dream to come to Israel and live here. As a variant community, we have variant sources of employment in Mitzpe Ramon. I mentioned we have a lot of people that serve in army base in this area. Also, we have a lot of people that work in tourism, guides, people that live in work in hotels, and so on, tourism. We have a very little industry in Mitzpe Ramon because we are very isolated geographic. So we don't have a lot of industrial in Mitzpe Ramon. A little bit agriculture, especially raising grapes for wine.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Det visar sig att fler från Skandinavien besöker Mitzpe Ramon just den här dagen. Den kända norska arkitektfirman Snöhetta har representanter på plats för att undersöka möjligheten att bygga ett ljusmuseum på orten.
Och vad gör du i Mitzpe Ramon?
Vi har ett uppdrag för ett lysmuseum i Europa. Och vår uppdragsgivare har ett önske om att etablera olika satelliter runt omkring i världen. Och han har identifierat Mitzpe Ramon som ett vackert sted också på grund av speciella lysförhåll.
Ja, det är ganska mycket ljus här.
Ja, men också det är ett vackert nattlys. Så det är det vi ska pröva och så vi ska etterpå besöka krateret för att laga en sån liten se på möjligheter där. Så det blir vi har ju inte begynt med att konkretisera ända, men det vi tänker att det är en vacker natur och vi jobbar ju väldigt mycket med landskap, arkitektur och kontext. Så vi ska se på, vi är väldigt spända på att se beliggenheten.
Ja. Känner du att
Ja, det är i uppstartfasen. Alltså, vi har inte konkretiserat detta ännu, så detta är egentligen vårt första besök här. Ja. Så vi är väldigt spända på möjligheterna här och vi har blivit tagit väldigt gott emot, det måste jag säga. Så det var väldigt flott att kunna vara del av ceremonin här idag också. Ja. Mm.
Så gott som alla i Israel har en personlig relation till Förintelsen. Flertalet judar som kom hit från Europa har nära anhöriga som dog i nazisternas koncentrationsläger. Övriga har släktingar eller vänner vars föräldrar och anhöriga omkom. När vi besöker Mitzpe Ramon just den här dagen börjar flyglarmet ljuda över hela landet. Bilar stannar på vägarna, passagerare och förare kliver ut ur bilen och står i tystnad under tiden som signalen ljuder. Anledningen till larmet är att det är Yom HaShoah, Förintelsens minnesdag, en helgdag som israeler och även många judar utanför Israels gränser uppmärksammar. Helgdagen etablerades av Israels parlament, Knesset, år 1951 och lagen signerades av premiärminister David Ben Gurion och presidenten Yitzhak Ben Tzvi. En 2 minuter lång siren hörs överallt i landet. Under de minuterna stannar all trafik Och oavsett vad man sysslar med upphör det för 2 minuters stillhet till minne av Förintelsens offer.
Ja du Ruben, det var ett spännande besök vi hade i Mitzpe Ramon.
Och en arkitekt från Snöhätta i Oslo dök upp.
Helt otroligt, men det är just sånt som händer i Israel. Plötsligt så bara träffar man på otroliga människor. Va?
Ja.
Och så fick vi en intervju med borgmästaren. Och nu så är vi alltså strax norr om Mitzpe Ramon. Här är det odlingar. Mitt i öknen så finns det då oliver.
Precis, som alldeles precis har börjat
Man ser här
forma sig.
massor av små, början till oliver. Och sen finns det vindruvor också. Och det ska vi prata mer om sen.
Och det borgmästaren nämnde just vindruvorna som en del av jordbruket.
Ja, för det är ju lite spektakulärt att odla vindruvor mitt i öknen. Nu står vi här i Kerem Ramon och det är en vinodling, en jättestor vinodling. Och jag står här med Shmuel som är ansvarig för vinodlingen. Och nu ska han berätta lite grann.
אנחנו גרנו במצפה רמון וחיפשנו מקום בנגב, קרוב למצפה רמון, שיהיה אפשר גם להפריח את הנגב וגם תעסוקה. חיפשנו להיות שותפים בחזון של בן גוריון ליישב את הנגב. המים שמשקים פה זה מים מושבים, מים שהם עברו תהליך של סינון מהמים של מצפה רמון ובאו לפה. עדיין שמנו את היריית חיפוי, שזה בעצם ירייה שגורמת לזה שלא יהיה אידוי מהשמש, והמים יישמרו פה, שלא נאבד הרבה נוזלים. הגובה של המקום הזה זה 800 מטר, ויש פה באזור הזה של מצפה רמון, בגלל הגובה, הפרש של טמפרטורה בין היום לבין הלילה. הגפן היא צריכה ביום שמש ובלילה קור. אני לא זכיתי להכיר אותו, להיפגש, אבל קוראים ספרים ורואים את המדיניות שלו, את החלומות. קרן קיימת עזרה לנו מאוד בהכשרות קרקע. היה פה ערים והיה צריך ליישר, קרן קיימת עזרה לנו.
I like to say that over the years we've made peace with 3 enemies, okay? Jordan to our east, Egypt to our west, and our most vicious enemy of all, don't point your camera at it, okay? The sun, okay? And we have really turned all of these 3 enemies into friends.
Wonderful.
Okay? Kibbutz Keturah is a family of 160 members, 250 children, and about 100 temporary residents. This brings us to a total population of 500 people, which is the second largest kibbutz in the area. Now, every visit to a family begins with an introduction to the family elder. And this is our family elder right here, okay? And he is 2,000 years old. He comes from a seed which was, at the time, the world's oldest regenerated seed, found in the original excavations at Masada. We have on the kibbutz a very renowned and modest agronomist named Dr. Elaine Salaway, who won the Ben Gurion Prize last year, okay? And who has planted many, many trees from every single continent except the Arctics here on Keturah and domesticated them. She managed to filch a couple of those seeds from the university at Jerusalem, bring them down here and regenerate them. And using a secret brew of micronutrients and vitamins and chicken soup, she managed to get one of them to sprout. And here you go. This is the Judean palm. Most palms in the world, most date palms in the world come from either Iraq, Iran, or North America or North Africa. Okay? This is an original tzabar, an original Israeli palm. This is the palm that Josephus Flavius writes about, that introduced the date trade from Rome to Jerusalem. And it's the only one of its kind. This palm tree was extinct from the Middle Ages onward, okay, due to warfare and construction and other needs in the Middle East at that time. Now, unfortunately, we were hoping for a girl, but we got a boy. Metushalach is a boy, just like Methuselah is in the Bible. Okay, but I'll tell you a secret just for you. Dr. Salaway has managed to also sprout a couple of other date trees. We're hoping that these date trees didn't come from pits spit down into the irrigation pit into the into the pit dug by the workers in 1948 when they excavated the pit. We're hoping to come up with a female Judean palm, and then we will introduce to the world from Kibbutz Keturah a new kind of date. Kibbutz Keturah is founded on 3 branches of industry. That's how basically we bring in our income. And 2 of them are partners with our old enemy, the sun. One of them is Algatech. Okay? It's an algae factory where we take a single cell fresh algae and we subject it to the stress of the heat and light of the sun, and we produce an enzyme from that stress, which is very, very high in astaxanthin, a very, very potent antioxidant. We sell about 1 liter of astaxanthin for $10,000 on the open market, and we sell that to both medical industries, pharmaceutical industries, and the natural food industry as well. Our second project with the sun came from these original solar cells to my left over here, and culminated in the production of 2 solar fields, which together produce 45 megawatt of electricity, and which produce electricity for every 4th light bulb which is lit in a lot. Okay? The desert does not give us much. The desert gives us sandy soil, heat, light. We have to use our heads in order to survive here. And we are continuing to do so into the 21st century. Our intention is to build a kibbutz here for 200 years with the generous assistance of the Keren Kayemet LeYisrael. Okay, guys, you got what you came for? I could have given you so much more. I feel like a grandmother. I baked a cake. I made tea. Okay. Okay, but if that's all you got, I hope you're satisfied.
So apart from the 7 species that were mentioned by name, there are another approximately 120 species. And we try to plant all of them here in this landscape. Okay. I'm holding here wheat and barley, but these weren't wheat and barley that were grown in the fields. These are wild wheat and barley that are growing here just behind me. This is the natural wild barley and wheat that covers the hillsides of Israel at this time of year. And if you think about the season, we just had the season of Passover. The season of Passover was traditionally celebrated by the first offering of the barley that was ripe. You can see the barley on the left here, which is already ripe. You can see the seeds of the grains have turned brown. You can recognize barley by its long hair, as opposed to the wheat, which traditionally ripens at Pentecost, which is the harvesting season of the wheat. And you can see here the stems are still green and the wheat is not yet barley, it is not yet ripe. They look different to planted wheat and barley. They beautifully cover the hillsides, waving in the breeze as the season goes on. Now, if you want to understand the Bible, then sometimes you need to come here to understand the language and the seasons and the nature, because it's all entwined. If you take a Song of Ascents, 126, and you hear the quote, "They who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Though he goes along weeping, carrying the seed bag, he shall come back with songs of joy, carrying his sheaves." Why would he sow in tears? Because if you pick 50 pomegranates for a pomegranate tree, that tree will still produce pomegranates next year. But when you get the grain from your wheat and barley, you have to decide. Do you eat it? Do you feed it to your family? Or do you sow it in the ground? Do you plant it in the hope that your barley crop or your wheat crop will give new wheat and barley next year?